All right, so I got the Serato SLAB. I've had this for about 48 hours now, maybe a little less. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a quick first impressions of what I think about this and the software. So let's go ahead and get to it.
Bolo!
All right, so like I said, I got my hands on this. Shout out to Guitar Center. So if you guys like what you hear about what I'm going to say about this, you can go ahead and pick this up. I will have a link in the description so you guys can pick this up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about first impressions. So this is going to be just a very straightforward video. It's not going to be much to it. I'm going to have maybe a few screenshots or whatever like that. But I'm really just going to talk about my first 48 hours with this. And I'm going to give you guys my first impressions of what this is and who it's for and if you should get it. So let's talk about that. Now, first things first, this thing is very small and it is lightweight. I have some pictures here of it with my MPC Live 3, my Machine Plus, and with the MPK Mini version 4. Okay, as you guys can see, it is very small, pretty compact for what it is. And it's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. I like how they have the whole layout on here. It's not, I would say, as many menu buttons that I would think that this would need to work with the software, but it does have enough to go ahead and get started. Now, what is this thing really for? It is basically an extension of Serato Studio. That's what it is. It's just an extension of it. So for a lot of people who are going to ask, can you use this without looking at the computer screen? No, you cannot use this without looking at the computer screen. You're still going to have to look at the computer screen when you use this, okay? You're not going to be able to do everything on this little menu screen right here. However, they have compacted everything inside of all of these buttons and these pots up here. And they did a pretty good job with having a dedicated controller with the Serato Studio software. So it does work with it, but I think that it can have a few improvements over time. Now, you got to understand too, I have not used this for weeks. So I have not really even sat down with them and did like a big introductory video to where they can show me a few shortcuts and everything like that. But we have talked already. I have talked with a representative from Serato, and we're going to get on the phone and he's going to show me some extra stuff with this. But for where I'm coming at with this, I wanted to just talk about the ease of use within those first couple of hours of getting this. Now, when I got my MPC, pretty much I kind of knew how to maneuver around that, and I was making some pretty decent beats within the first couple of days, even when I got the MPC-X back in the day. But I'm an MPC guy, and pretty much all the MPCs, if you know how to get around them, it's no issue, it's cool. And even with the software, so I had the software first before I got my first MPC-X. So when I got the software, I got it in like MPC 1.9 or something like that. Once I got the software with the controller, it was pretty easy for me to kind of maneuver around. I had to figure out a few things, but other than that, I was all good with it. Now, let's talk about the machine software. When I got the Machine MK3 with the software, it was much different from the MPC stuff. So it did take me a little bit of time to kind of figure out how to maneuver around in the software. It took me about a week. I ain't gonna lie to you. It took me about a week for me to be comfortable with the machine software, with the machine controller. And with this, I'm gonna be honest with you, it didn't take me that long to really kind of figure out the actual software with the controller. Now, I don't know all of the quick buttons on here, but if you're somebody who is wondering how long will it take for you to kind of adapt to the software, it's not gonna take you that long, especially if you know how to use Serato Sampler. If you know how to use Serato Sampler, this with the Serato Studio is not gonna take you that long. It's not going to take you that long to learn how to import your own sounds, learn how to use instruments, and to learn how to just use the whole program totally. Because it's the same way as pretty much all the other programs. You sequence everything in like your own type of a scene or whatever, and you take those scenes and you build those scenes together to make like a whole sequence. So it's nothing new. It all works the same, just like pretty much every other hardware type of a thing where you take scenes and you go ahead and build those scenes or patterns or whatever you want to call it. You build those up together and then you make a whole song from there. It's not that hard. It was actually a little bit easier than what I thought it would be. But aside from all the technical stuff of it, what I will say is with the actual program, it is very cool. It's a cool program. It does what it needs to do. And if you're somebody who wants to get started on this kind of controller production type of journey, it's actually a good starting point, especially for how much you can get everything for. Because right now you can pick this up, I think, for $330, and you get the actual controller and you get access to the full version of Serato Studio. Now, we got to kind of look at this in a couple ways, because if you just want to get Serato Studio by itself, it's like, what, like $250, $230? I forgot the price. It's not in front of my face, but it's about $80 less by itself than to just go ahead and buy the slab and have access to the full version. Because basically what the slab does is it just unlocks the demo version of Serato Studio. So it just seems like it just makes more sense if you don't already have Serato Studio just to go ahead and get the slab, and in that way you can go ahead and use it all together. Now, I will say this. I think that if you already own Serato Studio, I think if you've already paid for it and you already own it, I think they should have an option that you should be able to get the slab for a cheaper price. Now, I'm not saying you should get the slab for $80. I'm not saying that, but this is just something that, I'm just thinking about, and I'm not trying to stir up nothing like that. I'm just saying maybe this could be an idea maybe later on down the line. But I think if you already have paid the $250 or whatever you paid for Serato Studio, I think that you should have an option to get the slab for like $150 to $180. I think that's a fair price. $150 to $180 for the slab. Maybe no lower than maybe $130 to get the slab. And that's because I think you should reward the people who've already paid for that Serato Studio license, because at the end of the day, they don't really even need the slab. You don't need the slab to use Serato Studio. So I think that if you've already paid for it, I think they should have an option to where you should be able to get the slab. You should be able to get this for a lower price because you already own the software. As of right now, I don't see an option like that. I think that could be something that they could check into and see if, that may make some sense. If not, y'all let me know if I'm tripping, if I'm reaching right now. Y'all let me know. Now, the overall sound of the actual Serato slab with the studio sounds good. I made a beat with it, exported it out. The beat was trash. It was horrible. The first couple of beats was trash because I'm still learning the program. But so far, it sounds really good. It doesn't sound like it's thin. I didn't add any like limiters, anything to it. I just wanted to see just like how the export was. I'm not going to pin it in this video because I'm just really just kind of explaining my experience with it. Everybody's experience is going to be a little bit different. But I can say is it does sound good. It doesn't sound weak or nothing like that. It doesn't sound thin. So I can say the quality of the export of the program sounds good. So that's a good thing. Now, who is this thing for? I would basically say that this thing is for people who are wanting or starting to get into the whole, controller type situation where you want to have a more hands-on thing. I don't think this is on the level of, especially like the machine software and the Ableton software is not on the level of even the MPC software right now, even with, the stuff that's going on with the beta right now. But it is a good entry point for a lot of people who do want to get started and who do want to use the power of the Serato sampler. As we all know, the Serato sampler is one of the dopest samplers that are on the market. And one thing about this program is it's kind of like how I say about FL Studio. FL Studio sometimes is so easy that it's hard because you think you have to go through this to do something, but really it's right here in front of your face. And like the video that I did before, where I was like, hey, how does this going to work with my samples and everything like that? I've done videos on Serato Sampler, and I completely forgot that all you have to do is put it in keyboard mode, which they have a button on the actual controller where you can just put it in keyboard mode once connect it to a sample, and then you can play it up and down the octave chromatically, or you can put it in key on here as well. So it is super easy to use this controller with the software because the software is very, very easy to use. Now, one thing I will say about the software is I think they need like a blank way of doing the drums. I don't know if that's already in there, but when you open up a new project, they already give you the drums in there and you can replace the drums. But I think they need to have it to where it's a completely blank drum tab inside of the actual software. So that way you can just add your drums and, assign them that way. I could be tripping, could be human error. If it is, please let me know. I'm still getting to know the software and everything because I've never used the software. And I always tell people all the time, if I can figure it out, even though I do a lot of reviews and I do a lot of production on a lot of different software, I'm not the fastest when it comes to learning this stuff. But if I can figure it out, I know that everybody can figure it out. Okay? If I can figure it out in a week, I'm almost pretty sure you guys can figure it out in 3 days, okay? I just have more time with this stuff so I can present it. But within this little bit of time that I've had this, it has not been hard to figure this out because, it's one of these programs, and with the controller with it, you don't have to overthink certain things. And even with the controller, like I was like, how do I quantize? How do I do this? It's super easy once you just read the instructions and just watch some of the videos that they have up. You can figure out everything just from some of the videos. Now, I will say this, I will be doing more videos on this in a way of not just doing sampling because there's a lot of videos that's doing a lot of boom bap sampling and stuff like that. There's not videos that's really showing you how to use VSTs and just building beats from scratch. And, me, I'm a trap style producer. So a lot of the stuff that I do is going to be using the VSTs and using my drum samples directly inside of the program, which I will be doing some videos on that. And I probably will be doing some live videos on that just to, show you guys the whole workflow and everything like that. So the more and more I get comfortable with this, the more and more I will release some videos. Will it be videos every single week? No, but it might be a video every, 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever, because I have other products and stuff I have to review as well. But what I can say is, if you want to get started and you want to get a really good controller and to get some really good software to start making some beats to where you can have like I'm going to say it's kind of like an MPC machine style workflow. You can start off with this, $329. You get this and you get access to Serato Studio. But this has to be plugged up. If this is not plugged up, you're not going to have access. You'll have the demo version. You won't have the full version. But when you plug this up, it unlocks it, and then that way you can use it. And you can make you some really good beats, put some things together, and, have a fun time using this. Now, last but not least, I know I made a joke in my first video about this looking like the machine and stuff like that. I was really kind of, just kind of joking around with it. But I know a lot of people are like, oh, man, it's the machine killer and this, that, whatever. When you get this, it's not going to remind you of it. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not going to remind you of the machine. It's not going to remind you of any of the OP stuff or any of that stuff. It's its own thing. It's its own thing. Once you get your hands on it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so it's definitely not a machine, I don't think. Y'all let me know. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this quick overview of it. I'm going to be using it a little bit more, like I said. And if you guys want to go ahead and pick this up, I will have a link in the video description to where you guys can pick it up. And it's probably going to be like a little product link on the video as well. Shout out to the folks over at Guitar Center. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.